there is no limit to human knowledge. Over thousands of years, our knowledge of the universe has grown beyond imagination. We have explored everything from the Big Bang to black holes, unraveled the building blocks of life, and learned how energy became mass through Einstein's famous equation. But despite all these discoveries, there are things science cannot explain. And surprisingly, many of those things are not found in distant galaxies, but on Earth, left behind by people who lived hundreds and even thousands of years ago. If science has answered so many of the universe's biggest questions, why do these archaeological finds still remain unexplained? Well, let's find out. Number 15. The mummified dragon of Japan. Dragons have appeared in stories for thousands of years, so it isn't surprising that people once believed they had found one. For more than a decade, a dried creature kept among treasured possessions in Japan was treated as the remains of a dragon, with old accounts describing it as an animal that had been dried beneath the sun. The tale survived for centuries before modern technology finally stepped in. Recent X-rays and scientific studies revealed a far less mythical answer. Rather than belonging to a legendary beast, the specimen turned out to be a full-grown female Japanese marten dating between the 11th and 12th centuries. The animal may have become trapped inside a temple during repairs, although another possibility suggests it was placed there. Even after its true identity became clear, one story refused to disappear. Local records claimed rain would arrive whenever the remains were disturbed. Strangely enough, researchers experienced the same thing, with one scheduled examination postponed because heavy rain arrived at exactly the wrong time. So, was it really a mythical dragon? Number 14. The Wishing Stone of Hattusa Well. Not every ancient mystery is buried underground. Some have been sitting out in the open for centuries, leaving everyone just as confused. One of the most mind-bending examples is a smooth green stone resting among the ruins of Hattusa, the ancient capital of the Hittite Empire in modern-day Turkey. At first glance, it doesn't seem especially remarkable. It's almost perfectly shaped, polished to an unusual finish, and stands out immediately because nothing else around it looks remotely similar. The biggest mystery is how it got there in the first place. The nearest source of this type of stone lies many miles away, yet no records explain who transported it or why. Visitors today often place their hands on it and quietly make a wish, giving it the nickname, the Wishing Stone. Whether people in the Hittite world treated it as a sacred object, a diplomatic gift, or something entirely different is still unknown. Thousands of years have passed, but the stone continues to guard its secret without offering even the smallest clue. Number 13. The Cuauhtémoc headdress. For a very long time, people believed this headdress had once belonged to Cuauhtémoc, who was the last ruler of the Aztec Empire. It sounded like the kind of artifact every museum dreams of owning. But then, the story began to fall apart. A detailed study published in 2021 examined everything from its feathers to the materials used to build it, and the results pointed in a totally different direction. It wasn't from the early 1500s, but this headdress was made between the late 18th and early 19th centuries. That alone places it at least 2 centuries too late to have belonged to Cuauhtémoc. The feathers also come from birds native to the Amazon rather than central Mexico. Another detail raised even more doubts. No one mentioned the headdress until the 19th century, when the art dealer Eugne Bourbon sold it to Emperor Maximilian. Researchers now think it may never have been wearable at all, but rather a decoration fixed to a staff or ritual scepter. If that's true, this mistaken identity survived for well over 100 years. Number 12. Stone Circle with Magnetic Mystery. When archaeologists began examining a peat-covered site on Scotland's Isle of Lewis, they expected another forgotten prehistoric monument. What slowly emerged from beneath the thick layers of moss and soil looked much like countless ancient stone circles found across Britain. Then the investigation took an unexpected turn. Satellite surveys picked up a strange magnetic signal coming from the very middle of the circle. Researchers later said that repeated lightning strikes, possibly hitting the same place over many centuries, had altered the ground beneath it. That discovery raised an even bigger question. Did the people who built the monument notice something unusual about this spot long before modern instruments ever existed? Perhaps they watched lightning return again and again, or perhaps they sensed something they believed carried spiritual meaning. Nobody can say for certain. Hidden from view for centuries, the monument finally revealed both its shape and its strange magnetic signature in 2020. Even now, the place leaves behind the feeling that its greatest secret has yet to be discovered. Number 11. The mysterious Portland vase. If you placed the Portland vase in front of 10 experts, chances are you'd hear 10 different explanations of what its artwork means. That's been the problem ever since people began studying it. The vase itself is Roman, created sometime during the early 1st century, and its dark blue glass is covered with delicate white figures that clearly belong to the same scene. The strange part is that nobody on Earth has ever managed to agree on what that scene actually represents. One group connects it with ancient gods. Another believes it tells the story of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Others think the images point toward the murder of Julius Caesar. Every theory explains certain details while leaving others behind. Then there's another twist. The circular base showing Priam wasn't originally part of the vase at all, but was attached much later, making the artwork even harder to understand. After almost 2,000 years, people still admire its craftsmanship, but the story hidden in the glass remains just as uncertain as ever. Number 10. The Jerusalem Isis beamer. Sometimes the hardest part of a discovery isn't finding it. It's working out what you're actually looking at. That happened in Jerusalem during excavations at an ancient cemetery in 2015, when archaeologists found a tiny golden object that still puzzled them. It didn't look like anything familiar, so they did something rather unusual. They uploaded a photograph of it to Facebook and asked the public for help. The responses arrived almost immediately. Some people thought it belonged to farming, others compared it to a kitchen tool, old machinery, a watch component, a massage device, or even an object connected with religious ceremonies. Well, none of those ideas solved the mystery. The answer eventually came from an Italian man named Micah Barak, who recognized it as an Isis beamer, an object used by some modern alternative healing practitioners. Named after the Egyptian goddess Isis, it is believed by its users to direct positive energy toward the body. Even after that identification, one question is still unanswered. Why had someone buried modern stuff inside an ancient cemetery in the first place? It's a valid question. Number 9. The men buried among the pottery. Where someone is buried can reveal as much as the objects buried beside them. That became clear at the same archaeological site after excavators uncovered the remains of several men resting among the extraordinary pottery. Their identities have faded with time, leaving no names or written records behind, yet the location of their graves speaks volumes. These burials occupied one of the site's most important areas rather than an ordinary cemetery, suggesting the individuals held a position of respect within their community. Whether they were religious leaders, influential elders, master craftspeople, or members of an important family is still a mystery. No inscription has survived to settle that question. What does survive is the care shown in the way they were laid to rest. Surrounded by beautifully decorated ceremonial vessels, their graves hint that they played an important role in the society that produced some of Europe's finest prehistoric pottery. Sometimes a burial tells its story without saying a single word. Number 8. The Hartog plate. Sometimes an object doesn't need gold, jewels, or elaborate artwork to become priceless. Sometimes a few lines scratched into a simple piece of metal are enough. That's exactly why the Hartog plate remains one of Australia's most important historical artifacts. In 1616, the Dutch explorer Dirk Hartog landed on an island off Australia's western coast and left behind a pewter plate recording his arrival. The island later took his name, and the plate became the oldest surviving European artifact connected with Australia's exploration. 81 years later, another Dutch expedition reached the same place. Instead of leaving everything untouched, the crew carefully removed Hartog's original plate, replaced it with an almost identical copy, and carried the first one back to the Netherlands, where it survives today in the Rijksmuseum. The inscription itself is surprisingly ordinary, simply recording the arrival of the ship Eendracht, its captain Dirk Hartog, merchant Gilles Mebai, and the date of 25 October 1616. It isn't dramatic, yet those few lines quietly mark one of the earliest documented European visits to Australia. Number 7. The church built over the Gate of Hell. Building a church on top of an older sacred place wasn't unusual centuries ago. Doing it over a place many believed led straight to the underworld is another matter entirely. In the Mexican city of Mitla, archaeologists have been exploring tunnels hidden beneath a 16th-century church that was deliberately constructed above an important Zapotec temple. Long before the Spanish arrived, local traditions described this underground network as the realm of the god of death and the entrance to the world below. Recent investigations finally uncovered a maze of chambers and passages matching parts of those centuries-old descriptions. Radar surveys guided archaeologists beneath the city's foundations, revealing tunnels stretching dozens of feet and reaching impressive depths without disturbing the buildings above. Inside, they found burials along with valuable objects, including gold and other artifacts. Large sections of the underground complex still remain unexplored, leaving plenty of room for the old legends and the archaeology to continue meeting somewhere beneath the streets of Mitla. Now let's move to number 6, the mysterious gold mount of Norfolk. Picture yourself walking across an ordinary field with a metal detector. The last thing you'd expect to uncover is an object that nobody can confidently identify. That's exactly what happened near Fakenham, Norfolk in 2016. Buried beneath the soil was a beautifully crafted piece of gold that looked as though it belonged on an Anglo-Saxon sword. The resemblance didn't last long. When specialists examined it more carefully, something important was missing. A sword fitting should have holes where it was fastened to the blade, but this piece has none. That single detail sent everyone back to the drawing board. Maybe it decorated a brooch, maybe it belonged to a belt, or perhaps to an object that has never survived. The place where it appeared only deepened the mystery because no Anglo-Saxon settlement, cemetery, or workshop has ever been found nearby. A few similar pieces have surfaced over the years, but the people connected to them seem to have disappeared without leaving anything else behind. Number 5. The mysterious monolith of Arimi. Walking into an ancient workshop is one thing. Finding a giant standing stone waiting inside is something else entirely. That unexpected sight greeted archaeologists exploring a 4,000-year-old settlement at Arimi on the island of Cyprus. The community thrived during the Middle Bronze Age and earned a reputation for skilled craftsmanship, producing textiles and other valuable goods from workshops built across a limestone ridge. Inside one large working area stood a sandstone monolith rising more than 6 feet into the air. Since sandstone does not naturally occur nearby, transporting such a massive block would have required planning, manpower, and determination. Unlike decorated monuments found elsewhere, this one carries only a single carved motif across its smooth surface, leaving its purpose wide open to interpretation. At some point it collapsed, crushing a large storage vessel beneath it before disappearing beneath centuries of soil. Everything around it speaks clearly about everyday life, yet the stone itself continues keeping the reason for its presence completely to itself. Number 4. The Shagu site history doesn't always change because someone uncovers a famous king or a spectacular palace. Sometimes it changes because of a place almost nobody had heard of before. That's exactly what happened at the Shagu site in China's Shaanxi province. Buried beneath the hills were 9 high-ranking tombs surrounded by the remains of rammed earth buildings and smaller cemeteries. As each burial was examined, a much bigger picture started coming together. Bronze chariot fittings, jade ornaments, turquoise decorations, lacquerware, gold earrings, and finely carved bone objects all pointed toward people with wealth, influence, and strong ties to the Shang royal court. One burial proved especially important after it revealed the westernmost Shang period chariot and horse burial ever found. That single discovery pushed the known reach of the Shang dynasty farther west than many historians had expected. The site itself stretched across 11 hills of the lowest plateau, making it clear this wasn't an isolated community living on the edge of the kingdom. It was simply part of a much larger world. Number 3. The 12 skeletons at Petra. People visit Petra to admire its sandstone facades, but some of its greatest discoveries have been hiding beneath their feet all along. During excavations near the treasury, archaeologists found 12 burials that had remained untouched for centuries. Alongside the skeletons lay pottery, bronze objects, iron artifacts, ceramics, and a simple clay jug whose shape immediately reminded many people of the legendary Holy Grail. The burial chamber had escaped the attention of looters, something almost unheard of in a place explored for so many decades. That alone made the discovery mysteriously rare. Every object remained where it had been placed, giving archaeologists an unusually complete picture of the people buried there. The surrounding area is rarely open for excavation, making opportunities like this extremely uncommon. Each season of work adds another chapter to Petra's history, but few have produced a collection as complete or as well preserved as the one quietly waiting beneath the desert floor. Now, let's talk about number 2. The Viking runestone Lane Brandt and Anders Nielsen weren't hunting for Viking treasure when they started renovating their home in the Danish village of Mosaker. They were simply replacing part of the kitchen floor. As the old flooring came up, a huge stone appeared beneath it, something they didn't expect to find inside an ordinary house. At first, it looked like nothing more than a heavy slab, until a friend carrying a metal detector noticed faint carved markings across its surface. Specialists later confirmed they were ancient runes. The stone measured more than 6 feet long, weighed close to a ton, and had remained hidden for over 1,200 years. Only a handful of the runes have been translated so far, revealing the words after B, which probably formed part of a memorial to someone whose name began with that letter. The carving style places the monument in the 8th century, making it one of Denmark's oldest known runestones. It's now preserved in the museum, while experts are still trying to recover the rest of its forgotten message. Number 1. The hidden chamber of Puri Jagannath Temple. Every old temple comes with at least one story that refuses to disappear. Some speak of lost treasure. Some whisper about hidden passages sealed away for centuries. The Jagannath Temple in Puri has carried both. For years, people claimed a secret chamber lay concealed behind the Ratna Bhandar, protected by mysteries that only grew with time. One story insisted the room held priceless treasures hidden by ancient kings, while another warned that venomous snakes guarded whatever rested inside. Curiosity finally pushed the mystery into the modern age. Detailed 3D scans carried out in 2023 searched every accessible section of the structure but failed to reveal evidence of a hidden chamber. Ground-penetrating radar continues to examine areas that remain uncertain, leaving the investigation unfinished. Once the sealed room was finally opened, snake experts carefully inspected every corner. The results surprised many. There were no snakes or anything, only another centuries-old mystery that still refuses to die. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.